Florida State makes its move and fires 3 coaches. What does that mean for the Noles?
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst and writer. Today's show is going to be a doozy because we're going to talk about coaching changes. Not 1, not 2, but 3. Thank you very much for making this show once again your first listen each and every day. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you place your first $5 bet and win. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, here we are. I literally did the show a few hours ago saying it's possible that Florida State would make decisions sooner than later because obviously the team is struggling, being kind there, and quite frankly, to get ahead of the competition. So who got fired? What do I think about it? And what do you, the Florida State fans, think? I want you to jump into the chat, give me your thoughts, and I want you to discuss these 3 people individually, however you see fit. Number 1, no shock here. Alex Atkins, he's gone. O-line coach / OC. Adam Fuller, defense coordinator, he gone. And then Ron Dugan's the receiver coach. Before I go into the chat or anything else, here's why I think these are the guys that got fired first. I'm not surprised by it. And some will probably say, why wasn't Randy Shannon relieved? And I'm going to start with that. Number 1 here. If you fire the defensive coordinator and your head coach is an offensive guy, and obviously that is the case with Norvell. He played receiver growing up. He's an offensive guy. He's a play caller on the offensive side of the ball. He needed somebody with experience on defense. My guess is that Randy will call defenses as he has before at the championship level when he was at Miami. So that makes sense for a couple of games. It's not a big deal. I'm cool with that. As for Fuller in general, here are my thoughts. Pretty decent coach. Probably ran a scheme that wasn't perfect for Florida State. Sometimes a little more complex because basic run gap fits. We talked about this the entire season and for years. A lot of Florida State players just aren't picking it up. After a couple of years, it's probably time to cut bait. He got almost 5. It was way past due. My strong guess overall is that Norvell was told you have to make moves or we're going to make another move. That is my guess. I have no insight on that. I haven't even made a phone call, sent a text. That being the case, you can lock it up that they were getting rid of people because I guarantee you the cell phone of the president, assistant athletic directors, the president's assistant staff, this, that, and the other, everybody's phones and emails are blowing up in some form of the following is taking place. We are not giving money until these people are gone. Once the money dries up, people get gone. That's the way it goes. In any form of business, in Florida State football, 100% is a business. Next, after Fuller, after Atkins. If you don't understand why Atkins got fired, then you haven't followed Florida State football. Maybe the worst O-line coach in the country, maybe the worst offensive line in the country, and quite frankly, what's to say about it? Now, some will say Norvell called plays. Obviously, he's involved, but Atkins is responsible helping to create the play chart, to create the plays they use, to coach the guys, to come up with scheme, all of that, and they suck. To that point, you cannot make these 4 numbers up. These are the current numbers that are so embarrassing for Florida State on offense. Rushing offense. Here we go. This is the exciting part. 80.5 yards per game out of 134 teams. Dun, 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 dun. Florida State is 131st. Passing, allegedly, Florida State has 178.4 yards a game. Their best of these 4 stats, by the way, is the following number statistically. 115th. And it's by a wide margin. Total offense, 258.9 per game. What? Yeah. 132nd in the nation. Scoring, dead last, 13.3, 134th. You stink. So Adam Fuller got canned, but at least he had some moments. Maybe just wasn't a great fit. That's one thing. Atkins was terrible. There's no doubt out of everybody in the major Division I level, he was the most likely guy to get fired. he gets the axe today. Ironically, this will probably start the dominoes. Look for a few more teams because Florida State's a big fish, whether or not they're down or not. And other schools and their presidents and ADs know now that they got rid of somebody, they're going to be out on the hunt. If you were going to wait till after the season, your AD sitting around like, well, my phone's blowing up. We haven't got rid of our guy yet. My boosters are starting to get mad. Look for a few more to happen as well. So very happy with Florida State's administration for getting out in front of this. Very, very important because without it, it just doesn't work. And again, for those of you just joining in, please comment. I want to see as many comments about this, even if they're just one-liners. If you have thoughts regarding why Florida State did it, in your opinion, why they waited this long, was it too fast? Whatever you want to do, fire away. Finally, Ron Dugans, wide receiver coach, former Nole, played for the school, was a good player, by the way. Did he get railroaded? This one is the most interesting to me, but I'm not shocked. Number one here, what do I say on this show constantly? You win or lose 80% of the time based on recruiting. You could have an injury. Maybe the other team's quarterback is just red hot that day. 9 times out of 10, it kind of seems like talent wins with the money and the coach. Like good coaches go to schools that have good talent. So if you have the talent, you actually win more than 80% because really good coaches try to get there. They're not stupid. Florida State's not getting their share out of the high school ranks the way they should. Dugans had 3 guys committed. Not 1, not 2, but 3 that were really good. Now he's down to 0 for the class of 25. They've all bailed. The most recent was C.J. Wiley. He flipped to Georgia. I'm not sure he's going to want to sign there. They suck too. But at the same time, he had a good class this past year. Will Florida State keep some of these younger guys? Those are some of the things I want to know about. Like they were playing with Wayne McCoy, Elijah Moore. Obviously the 2 tight ends, Amari and Landon. Those are really fantastic athletes. This is going to be really difficult. I'm going to get into that a little bit more as we go into the chat. We'll take a quick break, and then I'm going to hit it. Looks like the chat just all of a sudden started to fill up. Please, once again, if you haven't already, check out the chat. Leave me a comment. I'm going to post what everybody says, discuss each question or comment, go right down the list one by one. That is next here on Locked on Seminoles. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the ball game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, let's jump into the chat, and then I'll get back into some more comments here in a little bit. But again, in case you missed it, Fuller is gone, Atkins is gone, Ron Dugans is gone. So I don't know if more decisions are coming. I have no idea. This is the most recent news. All right, here we go. Top of the board, we got Corey Hall. I bet Fuller was like you, go fire me, and you can't score over 21 points in a game. You know what? I mean, Fuller is not a terrible coach. Is he great? No. Is he going to win you a national title? No. Is he bad as some people, Florida State people and other things? Not necessarily either. They just weren't good enough to get you into that Final 4, Final 10. Like the defense coordinator Notre Dame runs an even more complex scheme, but yet they can execute it. Fuller wasn't getting his scheme across to Florida State players. That doesn't get it done. You did not make it through because you didn't coach him up enough. You didn't hire the right guys, or maybe both. Whatever it is, he gone. Der Claverspear. That's AD. I don't know if that's ad or bad. I'm not sure what he means, but these are great guys doing a fantastic job getting FSU back where they belong at the bottom. Okay, this is some troll. Get him out of here. Whatever. See you, loser. John Simcox. You think Norvell did the firings or was it Alford? I think these things, from my experience, are a combination, but it can be multiple answers here. If you were to ask me, and I don't know Mike, I've never met him, I'd say he's a pretty nice guy. according to the media around Florida State and some of my friends that have gotten to know the staff, everybody likes Mike in general. I don't think he's the kind to just hatchet somebody before the end of the year. My strong guess is one of the two, if not both, happened. The AD said, hey, do you want to make a move now? And he wants to. And Mike's like, probably not. And he's like, I have to do it then. Whether it was the AD that called them, whether it was Mike, whether it was both, I don't know how that works. But all three being let go tells me that, based on Mike's personality, chances are pretty darn high that Florida State is a school that had to do it themselves and not with Norvell. And it's just part of it. I think there's a lot you can go into in regards to Florida State's history and all that, and people getting on their nerves probably with the text and all that. I get it, but there's still nothing that you can do about this other than just make a move now, because you've got weekend off. That might have played part of it too. They might have had this plan because they knew they're going to get killed by Notre Dame. But more importantly, they got Charleston Southern coming up. If you're not going to do it before any other game, might as well be that one. You should win that if I was the defense coordinator. So take it for what it's worth. Corey Hall says probably offered. That's how I lean too. I do not disagree with that whatsoever. Mike, I don't know how to say that last name. I'm just going to stick with Mike. Brian, do you think he chose to make these moves himself or pressure from higher up? I think got pressured. Also, do you think there has been communication with other coaches already? This is how the coaching industry works. For those of you who don't know, it is a very thin line, kind of like with players. Let me give you an example, this two-way street. Florida State is contacting people that are in some way, shape, or form, whether you want to hear this or not, connected to players on other rosters. If you don't think Florida State tampers with other rosters, crack cocaine is a hell of a drug, just like Rick James said, but it doesn't mean you should try it. It's just the way that works. It's all through back channels. Some of the stuff with coaches, you can go through agents, but they're still under contract somewhere else. You have to have an idea if you're doing your due diligence, which goes against the rules. There's no way to do this blind. Oh, we're just going to fire this guy on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Sunday, whatever it is. Then the next day we're going to start the search. Baloney. They do these searches months in advance, have ideas, have lists. Coaches talk to each other, pass along information to assistant ADs, the president, the athletic director, etc. It is a very convoluted process in a very gray area. Just being honest. So do you think Florida State has made some contacts that you're asking me? I don't think. I guarantee it. That's the name of the business. And I guarantee it's going the other way too. There are probably people at Florida State, believe it or not, that other schools are interested in. Maybe it's a back office job. Maybe it's an offensive or defensive analyst job. Maybe it's to be a recruiting coordinator, whatever. These conversations take place all the time. Keith Maluso, all I can say is it sucks to fire people, but this was long overdue. Amen to that. I think we need a few more people to go Noles. This is three. Again, Dugan's the receiver coach, Alex Atkins, the OC and offensive line coach, as well as Adam Fuller, the DC, all gone. Don't expect that to be necessarily the end of it. Depending on how the last two games go, could decide on some others, but you got to assemble a team the last couple games too. A lot of reasons for why it may or may not be done yet. Tony Ruiz, Keon cooked Dugans to a certain degree, but Dugans cooked himself or Keon wouldn't have said what he did. Again, this goes both ways. Florida State sucked in recruiting some of the kids that they shouldn't have because of what Keon said. But do you think somebody as talented as Keon is going to suffer fools? No. Dugans did something he didn't like. I don't know if I'll ever talk to Keon in my life, but I'd love to have that conversation. John Simcox. All these guys should have been let go last year. Well, they went 13-0. That wasn't going to happen. It's sickening that Norvell keeps his job and he has presided over this mess. I can't argue with that. I'm the guy that's put out multiple times, fire Mike Norvell. And by the way, here again, fire Mike Norvell. They don't want to spend the buyout. The president, the AD can come out with anything they want. I beg them to say, we're supporting Mike Norvell. I'll be the first one to go on a live show and say they are bold-faced lying. And if they're not, they're idiots. He is not going to get Florida State to the promised land. He is not the guy. They don't want to spend the money on the buyout, period. If he's retained, you never know. Corey Hall. At Sheila, you are correct. Tuck. Shannon needs to go. again, I said this in the top of the show before I went into the chat. I just want to reiterate right now that thank you for bringing this up. Norvell is an offensive guy. You got rid of the coordinator / O-line coach. So whoever the analysts and other guys are, they're going to be helping. Norvell's probably just going to do the entire offensive game plan himself. Not that that's great, but at least he's an offensive guy. Who's going to be the guy that Fuller is gone that takes over the defense? Randy Shannon, whether you like him or not, and I don't know the guy. Heard he's a pretty good dude. He's been around championship level teams at Miami. He understands what it looks like. He can get them through a couple of games. I think it's smart to keep Randy on through that. And I think Randy will get fired after the season, or they'll find another role for him. Again, I've heard, I don't know him, never met him, that he's a really good guy. I mean, there's a lot of different possibilities. We'll see how that goes. Chad Kinsler, Dugan's cooked himself 100%. He's got some problems back there. If you got former players as good as Keon talking bad, that's not a good sign. Something's wrong there. I don't know what it is, but there's something wrong. All right. Slumbering Colossus. That's an interesting title. Thoughts on Jeremy Pruitt for DCDB, presuming Pat Bales? I mean, this is all about fit. One of the things, and I'll just read this now. There are more than this. These are 3 of the things that I want out of any coach. I don't care if it's coordinator, receiver coach, analyst, whatever. These are 3 things that I want, and I don't want to hear any excuses. These are 3 straightforward. If you don't get it, Florida State did not reach their objective for that potential hire. Number 1, if you can't recruit well, the door is right over there. Goodbye. Florida State recruiting has sucked at the high school level for far too long. Get out. 2, experience. I don't want to hear I can. I want to see that you have. Number 3, fit. This is social. This is economic. This is fitting with the staff. This is the most convoluted of the 3, but it's what decides who wins and who loses. Let me give you a reason as to why I say this. When Bowden was in town, that staff stayed together for a long time. They had guys that never left. They could have got coordinator jobs, small head coaching jobs. They all liked being with each other. They were really good together. Obviously, they won a lot of games, but they believed in each other spiritually, athletically, socially. They didn't mind living in Tallahassee. A lot of people don't want to live there. They were cool with it. Fit matters a lot. John Simcox, watching our O-line and DNs have been maddening. You couldn't have said it any better. The O-line in particular makes me want to cry. As an O-line guy, I'm somebody that goes to games and sits in the end zone to watch O-line play. If I went to a Florida State game, I would sit as close to midfield as possible so I didn't have any idea what the O-line was doing. They suck. Chad Kinsler. Alfred probably was waiting in Norvell's office this morning and forced him to fire people. That wouldn't shock me. Like, I'm sure it's probably more diplomatic in terms of a phone call, but they probably talked on the way home from South Bend, Indiana. Like, look, people got to roll. They got to roll. If it wasn't on the plane ride, it was right at something to that impact. Maybe it was this morning, but I'm telling you, the booster stuff is how it works. It's really not a lot different, ironically, because we just finished an election. At these national conventions, Republican or Democrat, all the people up that got the suites, they dictate what's going on, whether we like it or not. Think of that as the boosters. If those people are mad, the AD's about to get fired. The president's about to get ousted, etc. When the money people say, no, I'm not having any of this, I'm not donating anymore, heads roll. Yanni, Atkins has been terrible, but I am surprised. All the rumors I heard said he was keeping him because of the new recruits coming in. I'm going to talk about the recruits here in just a moment. I don't know the full angle on it. I've made one call, haven't got a call back, but I can tell you this much. Florida State is going to have a really bad class either way. There was no good answer here. Anybody that follows this show even slightly, occasionally, once a month will know. Recruiting is my bread and butter. It's not going to go well. So you got to get the right coaches. You're going to have to kind of put this together with duct tape for a couple of years, is what it is. But you're not going to win with these coaches, even if you were getting 5 stars. The fit wasn't right, or they weren't good enough coaches, both. I don't know, but they weren't winning enough. Let's see here. Let's see. John Simcox. David Johnson should be fired immediately as well. He is our recruiting director. I don't know how much I want to get into the back office staff because that's a whole different animal. I could do a whole week of shows on what the back office is like because every school is a little different, but they are only as good as the assistants making the phone calls or not, how they get relationships going or not. I don't think that Florida State is in a position right now where it's as good as it should be, but something tells me that the coaching staff, not the assistants in the back office, are the bigger problem with recruiting. Mr. Kool-Aid Maker, does this mean we are tied to Mike for a few more years? How else will we recruit coaches and or players? No, it does not. I think he's going to get through about half of next season and some decisions will start to be made. It's all going to be eye test. How are they recruiting? The coaches that he brings in, based on these firings, possibly more, how they do. There's so many boxes to go through and check before you just have a subjective decision that I couldn't tell you when it's going to be. But I think next year they could fire him, and I think there's a good chance they will because I think they'll be below 500 next year. Who recruited this roster? Who hit the portal for these kids? Norvell. Prove me wrong, but right now I think he's done after next year. Why didn't Randy go? Linebacker's been horrible. I'll say this again. Because Fuller was let go, obviously the DC, head coach is an offensive guy. They needed somebody to call plays the last couple games. If he's let go after the season, it wouldn't surprise me. Deontay Merrick's Sertan best recruiter on the team? Could be. I think his reputation, his knowledge of not just knowing South Florida, but younger people, like his kid being a player, all that, probably helps him. They're going to probably try to keep him. He could end up being the defensive coordinator long-term. I don't think they'll throw that at him right now. They could make him go with Shannon. There's another idea, but we'll see how that goes. Death Knows Your Name. That's a really interesting title. Brian, you're a really knowledgeable guy. How do you see next year's record? 4-8. That is what I got right now, but before the portal, it's like beginning of spring, I said 7-5 to 9-3 for Florida State. Then they did well in the portal. I thought they were going to go 10-2, 11-1. I couldn't have been more wrong. They might end up 2-10 or 1-11. So right now, what I think probably doesn't matter much. Oh, man, this is interesting. Raider Noel keeps Sims as linebacker coach. I wonder if he'd be interested in that. I remember talking to him when he was in high school. He was a dude. Man, he was good. NK, I still don't believe Mike made this call on his own. I don't either. He wouldn't have fired these guys, especially his buddy Fuller. This feels like the boosters putting pressure on the AD for changes. NK, that's exactly what I said just a little bit ago. 100% agree. I'll discuss that a little bit more here in a second. But, yeah, again, the boosters run these programs whether we want to hear it or not. How? Money. Money go bye-bye, people go bye-bye. That's how it works. We'll be back with more Locked On Seminoles after this. Have you downloaded the Game Time app yet? This is the app that lets you get into a concert, a show, a play, Florida State football game, or anything else you can imagine at the touch of a button right on your smartphone. All you got to do is download it, look for something like Miami Dolphins, Florida State Seminoles, find the game you want, click on it, and then my favorite thing happens. You can click on the seat, and from your phone, you can look at the actual venue that you're going to, no matter what it is, the stage at a play, the pitcher's mound at a baseball game, whatever it might be, from your phone. Gives you an idea how much bang you get for your buck. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right. Let's get back into the chat here. Trying to find where I was last. Let's see. Eric, if I missed anybody, my apologies. Eric Morris, do you think Norvell goes to the NFL ranks? He could. I don't think with a program like Florida State, this is a great question, by the way, Eric. Thank you for the question. I don't think the NFL route's a bad way to go. I'll give you 2 reasons why. You want to leave every opportunity out there for you to explore. There could be a guy that's in the NFL. It's like, man, I thought I'd like this, but I'd rather be at the college level. And they want to come back. That's one. And the other, if you're at the NFL level, you're probably a pretty darn good coach. Even guys that get fired at the NFL level, they're pretty good. Saban has been canned. The crazy man from the Patriots, who's, all those Super Bowls, they were part of that Cleveland team. When was that? Mid-'80s? Early 90s? I can't remember when it was, but whatever. Belichick getting fired tells you how hard it is. So I think they should at least look. The key here, if you go the NFL route, is very simple. It comes back to that same word again. Many coaches are now trying to get to the NFL because they don't want to deal with the portal, NIL, and recruiting. Anything with procurement of talent. They don't want to jack with it. And to be honest, as much as I'm a recruiting guy, if I was a coach, I'd rather be in the NFL too. What does that tell you about how awful it is right now for the assistant coaches in college football? It's hard. So looking at the NFL ranks, good idea. Mike Merrick, I believe next year will be a lot better. Define a lot better, Mike. I want to see your reply because I think 4-8. I'll explain why after you reply. JW318, recruiting will be a must for new hire coaches. Just been terrible. Bro, I can't disagree. They're getting good players. They're not getting enough of them, especially at critical spots. Like they're losing out at big play receivers, edge rushers like Javion Hilson, etc. This is disaster. JB, have to get recruiters and developers with these next hires also with pretty darn good P4 resume, 100%. It's okay if you take a G5 guy. There are exceptions. I know that, as an example, Lou Holtz met Urban Meyer by chance, literally, at the coaching convention one year, hired him on the spot. Obviously, that worked out long term. There are exceptions, but there are few. No offense to Mike Norvell. He's not Lou Holtz either. So you have to be able to look at this from the perspective of, if you take one, you got to have a lot of verification for why. You got to have references. It's got to be an absolute, no doubt, recruiter and a developer. Not one or the other, both. D. Will new coordinators be announced before portal season opens on the 9th? Here's where I get very concerned. My strong guess is no. And you're like, why? Very simple. Announced to me means publicly announced. Privately to the players on the team, probably. Will some of it be leaked? More than likely. The problem is background checks. They take forever. It's just the way it is. So the days of having a bunch of guys come out there, getting it done, and like you hire somebody 2 days and announce it, that's not how it works. It's going to be 2 weeks after. I think by the first playoff weekend, December 20th, you might. If it's before that, I'd consider it a bonus. Eric Morris, Brian, what record in 25 would satisfy the faithful and keep Norvell safe? A lot more than he's going to get. I think 8 wins would probably be the bottom end. I don't think they'll sniff 8 wins next year. Mike Merritt, changes had to be made. Florida State is Florida State. There is a standard. It's simple. You're not fooling me, brother. I 100% agree. John Simcox, do you think Norvell must have used the portal again to fix some of the very many issues? Abuse it is kind. He's going to lose a lot of guys at the portal. Let me be clear, just up front here. Florida State's roster will be far worse next year than this year. Repeat, far worse. They're losing a lot of seniors up front on both sides of the ball. Cam Riley's going to be gone, Shaheem Brown, etc. Who's jumping into this boat from the portal? Who? Yeah, you're not going to get the top-run SEC guys coming down. You're not getting guys transferring from Miami and Notre Dame and Texas A&M. You're not. Next year's roster, oh boy, could be a problem. Grimy Grime, how many more coaches are getting fired before the season ends? I have no clue. Timelines, no idea. Wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. JW318, who's some young, experienced coordinators that are great recruiters that we can look at? I'm putting up some of that on the YouTube channel. There's a coaches section. I put that in there if you want to go look at. There's a few. but I haven't really delved into like the young coordinators that can recruit. I get what you're saying. That's tough information because it's subjective. There are some guys, but what they need for a coordinator, I doubt it's going to be a young guy. Coordinators usually aren't your top recruiters. There are exceptions. I get it. But most of them are more the business approach, want to be locked in a room guy. You got to have your position coaches be your lead recruiters, generally speaking. Robbie outs for Heisman. From an outsider's perspective, Florida State is lacking in strength and conditioning. A Scott Cochran could save this program. I don't know who they're going to go with in that regard. And I'm not saying you're right or wrong. I'm just saying that's a really difficult thing to project. I don't know. New coaches might want a new strength staff. I have no clue. I think Odell walks away, says Kevin Hickson. He could. Wouldn't be surprised if Odell ended up in the athletic department in some capacity as well. R. Wilmer, still nothing addressing injuries and lack of physicality. Nothing on strength and conditioning department. Why 5 consecutive years of O-line devastation? Hill Lucas, and so on. I have no idea. O-line is funky, but I think Atkins sucked as an O-line coach more than anything else. What's the word on who you think we can hire? I don't know. Everything I do right now is speculative, and I just touched the tip of the iceberg. I've got a few guys, again, it's on the coaching tab in the YouTube page. Got a bunch of different stuff coming up, but we are just at the beginning of the coaching cycle. And to be honest, to give the Florida State administration credit here, they are starting the recruiting cycle for coaches across the sport because now all these other ADs are going to be shuffling. Do we make a move tomorrow? Do we make a move tonight? Because everybody wants to get out there and look like they're proactive. Florida State kind of started the trend for the coaching carousel going into 2025. Tim Peoples, keep making changes. I have a feeling you're right that it will happen. Rod Stoudemire, I'm surprised how resolute you are about Mike Norvell firing. Do you not have confidence he can figure this out given our resources? Zero chance. Zero, -5 million. No, hell no, get out. I do not like him at all as a head coach because he kept saying the same things over and over about practice with other kids. It's not resonated with them. Press conferences the same every week, and they're getting annihilated every week. They're regressing more every week. No, no, and no. Get him out. I know they're not going to do it, but I think Norvell should have been fired already. King Gen 4K, why the actual blank is the strength and conditioning staff still here? Part of it is they need them for now. I don't know if they're bad, good, or indifferent. I don't get to see that. Let me be very clear. Unless you were there every day for about 8 to 10 hours, you're not going to know the answer to that. It is complex. I'm obviously not, so I'm going to leave that alone. Mike should count his lucky stripes. He still has a job. That is from Neb524. You're probably right, because I'd have fired it. King Gen 4K, FSU players always look tiny on the field and are always weaker. I don't think about always, but I think they could be better 100%. Recruiting better would help that as well. Southern Man, thoughts on keeping the O-line commits? Good luck. Without an O-line coach, which they will not have on December 4th, I guarantee you that all 4 of them have been on the phone with coaches at different schools already. Chances are very slim. Very slim. If they want to leave. I mean, one or two might still want to go to Florida State, but I don't like the chances. Yanni, such a small recruiting class, seniors leaving and people joining the portal. Mike is doomed. Yes, he is screwed. Again, right now, my tentative projection for 25, 4 wins. And that's being positive. King Spling just got a chance to join the show. Any thoughts on Will Muschamp? I mean, he'd be a great DC. I mean, he can coach defense. I just don't think he's a head coach. I don't know if Norvell would have an interest or not, but it wouldn't be a terrible hire by any means. Wilmer, is Mike stays is done as you say. Why would I come to Towey? Well, that's the whole point. I don't know why anybody would. This is the same problem every school goes through. Everybody is negative recruiting as Florida State. All these recruits are getting hammered. Why would you go there? Why would you go there? It's a part of the process. They're going to lose some recruits, no question. Stoudemire, if Mike is let go, what's your thoughts on Brian Hartline? What about Tom Herman? I actually commented, it's in, I forget what the name of the post or the podcast is. It's from a few days ago. Hartline is one of the 2 coaches I mentioned as an offensive coordinator possibility. The other is Dirk Cutter. And the picture on the YouTube page is of Cutter. I go into my thoughts on that because he played for the Dolphins for 7 years. He recruits Florida well, great developer, likes recruiting, very likable guy. I met him. I think that you could do a lot worse than Hartline, but he's not completely ready yet. You'd have some growing pains. It's an interesting thought, though. King Jin, Mike Norvell should have fired everybody. He still needs some guys to coach the rest of the season. NK, I guess Florida State fans have to thank Notre Dame for the shellacking last night. Hope this is just the beginning. It might be, because Florida State sucks. Xander, hire Ohio State wide receiver coach in OC and pay him well, all the money he wants, worth it. Neb, Joe Brady, the old LSU OC and Bills would be cool. He hates recruiting. He will never be in college again. Todd Campbell, Johnny Wilson scores touchdown for Philadelphia Eagles. What does that have to do with anything? King Jen, Brian Hartline is not leaving Ohio State for Florida State. I doubt it, but you still got to call. I'm so glad they made these changes. I somewhat agree with firing Adam Fuller. The defense played good considering how bad the offense was. You're probably right about that. It could have been even worse. Nathan Fireball, Waffle House guys is calling these players next game. Can't be any worse. Oh, boy. At King Jin, do you guys know what we're looking at? I don't know what that's referring to. Adam Fuller, terrible defense coordinator. Kevin Hickson, I think you can have a decent portal class depending on the coach you bring. That is possible, but again, here's the problem. It's all fit. It fits for the players too. Maybe a coordinator comes in from a proven program because they give him a bundle of money. And just like use the example up at Indiana, IU hired Signetti. They had 8 guys, if I remember right. Maybe it was even more. Transfer from the school he's at. Was it James Madison or whatever? You might be able to do that. That might be Florida State's saving grace. The hires they make in coaching to get some guys to come with them is very important. Stop conflating talent masking with a good DC. No, it's both. It's not one or the other. Florida State didn't hire enough talent based on recruiting, and then Fuller made it worse. The defense is the only reason why the games are a little bit competitive. That's true. The offense is historically bad and doesn't help defense. I'm not saying it doesn't, but is this yes or no? Is Fuller going to help you win a national title? That's the only objective at Florida State. The answer is no. So who cares? Eric Baker, hire head coaches and get them, or Mike hired these coaches and got them extensions. He did, but he'll do better this time around. I don't think so. But this is the boat you're in. His buyout is $63.8 million. That is why they're in the situation they're in. They suck because they allowed themselves to suck. King, that's what 23 Florida State was, talent masking. Probably right. Kevin Hickson, because we sold kids, or we seen kids follow a coach if he leaves on and goes to another. I have no idea what that means. No more 3rd and 4. Yeah, 3rd down defense for Florida State. It's terrible. That's from Neb. He's right. For their talent on defense, Florida State sucked on 3rd down. Stoudemire, if Mike is let go, what are your thoughts on Brian Hartline or Tom Herman? I talked about that a little bit ago. Herman, I don't think is coming to Florida State. I had to highlight out that. Hartline, they'll try to get, he knows Florida. He played 7 years for the Dolphins. He recruits Florida, but I doubt it was Ohio State. Nathan Fireball, Florida State just isn't getting the quality of recruits like they should. I don't know why. Recruiting effort is not where it needs to be. Let's see. I'm just skipping down. There's too many for me to read all of these, but thank you to everybody that came in. Possible candidates. I've got a few on the coaching tab on the YouTube page, or just go back through. Got an OC candidates thing that I just started, but I really don't know who they're looking at. That's a great question. Matthew Abate, Nathan, to your point, 2 best receivers in Florida, Dallas Wilson and Jamie French, are leading the state to Oregon and Texas. It's not wrong. Scott Frost did a good job as UCF as coordinator. That'd be interesting. Is Coach Novell considering giving up play calling to focus on game management and program direction? That I don't know. Right now, I think he's going to have to call plays because he just fired his coordinator. To be honest, we know Norvell can't recruit. That is from Swift, and that's pretty true. Antoine Townsend, Chris Winkie for quarterback coach. I'd be interested if Winkie would come. He's at Georgia Tech right now. It's possible. That's somebody. I've met him. He's a nice guy. 3rd and 4 almost never fails, and I'm the only one nervous when McCoy's on punt return. That's from Bashan. McCoy's a freshman. I'm more nervous too. Yanni, how did we lose our aggressive DB identity for 3rd and 4? Great question. I don't know the answer. That's a great question. I just want to say a couple of final thoughts here, and I'm gonna wrap up the show. there's going to be a lot of names to get floated. A lot of names. I'm not saying that I know exactly how this is going to go, but I am going to say this. Florida State is in a scenario where they're still Florida State, okay? This isn't a program that is just going to be overlooked by everybody. They get a call, OC, assistant coach, GA, Power 4, G5, whatever level, whatever experience. They'll take the Florida State call. A couple of things here. Number one, literally, is Florida State willing to, keyword, overpay? If they are not, next year will be even worse than 4-8. Why do I say overpay? Why in the world would anybody come here? Many of you mentioned this in the chat. Norvell is on the hottest of hot seats. They are the worst team since 1974, Florida State. That is 2 seasons before Bowden arrived to coach. Ridiculous. So if you're going to get somebody, you're going to have to overpay. Prove me wrong on that. Maybe Winky could be an exception. That's possible. But I don't see how that's going to work out. 2, and again, this is very, very important. The timing of all this is goofy. At least Florida State got out ahead of it for not one, but both the coordinators. That will allow them, technically speaking, to really be aggressive. So when they call an agent, hey, I know you're the agent for coaches A, B, C, D. Are they interested? And then, just the back channels, Norvell might know a guy and just call it because they've been friends for years. Whatever. They're serious. They can move forward. They can do background check. All of that, they're in the game. They have let out the gate. They are leading the Preakness Stakes, whatever way you want to define it. They are the leader in the clubhouse for anybody because they're the first, traditionally speaking, not right now, elite program to make major coaching decisions this year. It may still not matter because of the Norvell situation, but that's the hand you're dealt. You don't get to pick that. You've screwed up. Norvell just not made the right decisions, and I'm being very kind, and he's not made the right decisions with something else, and that's recruiting and the back office staff. All that stuff can be organized in another way, strength and conditioning coach. But all the things have led to this season being a disaster where they won one game, and that's against Cal, and they reside with a 1-9 record. It's not going to be easy. So when you talk to your buddies at the office, at the gym, or you're going for a run and you're just listening to your iPods, whatever, know that Florida State's done the best they can, but the situation is still dire. Do I think they'll get the coordinators they want? Yeah, I would lean no. But they're going to have to overpay no matter what they do. So it is what it is. And Florida State is just going to have to deal it out from there. Thank you once again for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day. Truly appreciate you stopping in to talk some Noles with me. I love doing it. Today's a rather crazy day. And because of it, and Florida State having the off week, the rest of this week, we're just going to talk coaches, the transfer portal, coaching candidates, probably going to be more decommitments. It will be a buck wild week on Locked On Seminoles. Get ready, buckle up, because that's what's coming. I can be found at FBScout_Florida on X. I will see everybody on Monday. Again, there's going to be a lot of news coming your way. Take care, and I'll see you tomorrow.